This episode of Reading, Writing, and Ralph is brought to you by the Kathleen and Eddie Arthur Hearts of Love Fund. This fund was founded by Ed Arthur to honor his parents, Eddie and Kathleen, some of the most generous people in Alexandria. This fund stands as a way to ensure they can continue to give back to their community after they are gone. The fund has dispersed almost $100,000 to citizens in need, providing rents as well as other day-to-day expenses. They are now supporting the Domestic Violence Safe House in assisting women and children and providing safety and security to them as they leave their secured house. Please consider this worthy cause by donating through this link. Their safety depends on us. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to February. I am excited to dive into tonight's episode of Reading, Writing, and Ralph. So the interview is with Rebecca Downs, author of Love, Politics, and Survival, a Whitfield family narrative. This evening, we are welcoming Rebecca back on the show to discuss Love, Politics, and Survival, Book 2. Of course, remember there is trivia and Google is allowed. We will just have 2 trivia questions tonight, so type fast, be the first one to answer correctly. You will receive a free signed copy of Rebecca's book. Thanks one more time to our lovely sponsors, the Kathleen and Eddie Arthur Hearts of Love Fund. So now, let's bring on Ralph. Hello, Ralph. How are you today?
Good evening, Grace. How are you doing today?
I am good. I am happy it is February. The days just keep rolling on. I heard that, so you were in a play recently. That wrapped up. How did that go?
You know, it was a marvelous experience. The people I've met that are now dear friends were very welcoming of a rookie. They all had tremendous amount of experience. We did Bermuda Avenue Triangle, which was written by Joseph Bologna and Renee Taylor. It's hysterical humor, geared for the older generation. And it was directed by Tammy Crawford, who did a wonderful job down at Second Street Players in Riverfront Theater in Milford, Delaware. It was a fabulous time, well attended, and sorry to see it end, but maybe there's another one down the road.
Yeah, oh, that's so fun. So tell us just a little bit about tonight's guest, and then I will let you 2 take it away.
Sure. Rebecca Downs, who pens her works under Rebecca Rose, her first novel was about a political family, the Whitfields, in a modern day dystopia, let's say, and you think mafia and vendettas are vicious families. Wait until you read about the Whitfields and the political backdropping. She's a wonderful writer and has a great series going on with the Whitfields. So let's bring her on. There she is.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Ralph, you make me blush.
Why do I make you blush? You're a good writer. You're fabulous.
I appreciate the compliments. Thank you.
And the works are just intriguing. But before we get into that, Rebecca is also a baseball buddy, and she loves the New York Yankees. So I have to ask 2 questions before we start.
Sure.
Or as we start, rather. 1, will we have a baseball season? And 2, how will our boys do?
That's a hope. That's definitely a hope. It might start a little bit late, but I think people are fatigued with late season, so hopefully they'll start it on time. And they got the wild card?
Yeah.
Season? That's how the Nationals won the World Series. So the Yankees, I'm confident they'll go even further this
I hope
upcoming
you're
season.
right. I hope you're right. But anyway, so you were on about a year and a half ago. God,
Yep.
time does go quickly. And
hmm
so update us on what's new with Rebecca since the last time you were on. Tell so the audience
So
can.
I'm sure. So I'm also doing journalistic writing. But I do still love finding time for my these novels. I might even have a companion series in the works. We'll see. And we are living in a townhouse now in Fairfax, which is still Northern Virginia,
Right.
but is a little bit more suburban.
Yes. Yes. Fairfax is very nice. I'm glad to see you're
Thank
doing
you.
well. And
Thank you.
so, and you're still with Solstice Publishing. They do a marvelous job. They're
Yes,
wonderful
sir.
to
Oh,
work with.
they're the nicest people too.
Yeah, they are. They're like family.
Yeah.
Um, so, remind the audience how you began writing and why you
Oh
began
my
writing
gosh.
and how you
This is
picked this
so
particular this particular
I think
topic, political and family corruption.
I feel like as far as like how and when I started writing, my mom might be the better person to ask that because I've been doing it as long as I can remember. I wrote stories in kindergarten and all throughout and just had this creative mind. And honestly, this story came to me in a dream. The story just came to me in a dream about like a brother and sister, that were facing some huge political situation, and it developed and it went through so many differences and versions as stories do, but it just it stuck with me. So I it stuck with me for about 17 years now, I'd say. I probably wrote I know, right? I probably started I think I got it published about 14 or 15 years after the idea came to me.
Wow, that's a long time to stick with it, and
Yeah,
it works well.
meant to be.
So,
Thank
it's
you.
so fiction mirrors real life or is drawn from real life, and you know, families are complicated, and but you've added an element of even more complication and deceit and twists um, than sometimes are even imaginable. So tell the author, the audience, a little bit about your characters, where they were in the first book, and how they've developed since.
Sure. So the first book, Love, Politics, and Survival, Whitfield Family Narrative, Book One, is an introduction to this world. There has been an attempted coup mostly against Director Edward Roth, who leads the Department of Security and Action, and he is like not only corrupt, he's evil. So you have other characters that are like corrupt, but just that's the system they're in. So you have the main character is George Whitfield. He had been the director of the Department of Ethics, but as punishment for not doing enough to stop the coup, Edward Roth makes him work for him now. So now George Whitfield is the deputy director of the Department of Security and Action, and his family just goes through, they really put through the ringer because part of the family drama is that George's son, Danny Whitfield, and his brother, Gregory Whitfield, are kind of against not only Edward Roth, but against George because he has that position in government. So um, it's Danny is revealed to have been part of had tried to help with the coup, uh, but George, even though he's never had the best relationship with his son, kind of acts as the sacrificial lamb, and he says that the coup was on him, and he gets taken into custody instead of his son. So his family really has to navigate and be without him, and there are a lot of consequences of that. There's his wife Maria, his daughter Cassandra, the surviving daughter Cassandra, and his dear family friend Adam, who he was hoping would marry Cassandra. But of course things happen in the that's how the first book leaves it, but of course things happen in the second book that kind of things change. Things don't always go as you plan. And the first book, actually, it kind of the ending of the first book, it actually kind of leaves a hint, if you catch that Adam dreams that he's going to marry Cassandra. And it kind of leaves the reader wondering, if you're thinking hard enough, it leaves the reader wondering, wait, the fact that he dreams it, does that mean it's not going to happen? Does that mean it's just going to be left as a dream?
Yeah. But things change and things evolve, and George ends up, if I remember correctly, in jail.
Yeah.
Or,
Well, it's not even jail. That's like the cruel thing about it. It's like confinement of his office so that the public doesn't know he's in jail.
yeah. But he's I guess being detained.
Yes, it's all about public appearances.
So so they run their little circles of deceit. They run their little revenge tactics, and
Yeah.
but now the family sort of settled into that, and we're into book 2, and you open
Yeah.
it up, kind of intriguingly
Christmas.
in the holiday season.
Yeah.
So
It was
why did you choose
published in
that?
November.
Yeah.
Christmas is such a major time, and the way it deals with it is that it's the first Christmas George is not with his family. Since he's been married to his wife, since they've had their children, they have to be without him. And their family friend Adam, who is under sort of house arrest for aiding the Whitfield family, Adam is allowed to go be with them because George would not get to spend Christmas with them. But Christmas is also a really good glimpse into Edward Roth's family. So Edward Roth lives with and has had an affair with his sister-in-law, and just has this like iron fist over his nephew, and to some extent his niece. So it's a really good way, I think, the holidays and time outside of work is a really good way to show family interactions from that perspective as well.
Yeah. It's interesting. I give you the perspective. So if when you're growing up and you have a big family, and it's whether it's Italian, Irish, German,
Italian, yeah.
um, um, African American, doesn't matter. Wherever a big family's involved, and the children are always there for the holiday season, then they start to emerge, and there's always that first grandchild or niece or nephew that breaks away from the tradition. And when you wrote those opening scenes, it kind of took me back to that time and the turmoil it starts to cause inside the family. So, what are your
Mm,
thoughts on that?
that's such a that's a fascinating like way to way to put it. I think yeah. I think it represents that it's tough to break with tradition. It's tough for everybody involved. Sometimes by the break with tradition is by choice. Sometimes it's not, and I think humans react some more than others. They have a hard time with change. You know,
Yeah,
so
they
I
do.
think yeah,
But it also serves to uh, force you to think about the politics, right? One, you're alone. Two, you're a couple. Three's politics. to start to think about the politics and the political dynamic inside of a family, right?
Oh yeah.
Which kind of mirrors and is analogous to where this story is. Again, it's that's how my feeling when I was reading the book.
I think that's an excellent take. Because, yeah, I kind of meant it as like, okay, here's a glimpse into this family, into, well, really two families outside of work. But it does show, I think, with Edward Roth and like the iron fist of his, shows the political dynamic of family too.
It
You
certainly
always have the
does.
best, like, yeah, you always have the best takes.
I guess when you start getting older, you have a lot of situations that you can draw
True,
from.
true.
But this is a good time to give the audience our first trivia question. And again, type the comment in quickly. This is for most people, it's going to be a simple guess because I'm not sure anybody will know the true answer. And we will actually, if we don't get an exact answer, then we'll give a signed copy to the person that's closest to the correct answer. And so get ready. First one in with the right answer, or if we don't get the right answer, the first one with the closest answer. So the first trivia question is, how many of the United States presidents have ties to the same bloodline? Right. So it's a tricky question, and it's not as easy as
Fascinating
people
one.
are going to think. So, how many U.S. presidents share bloodlines? So, let's stay with the family theme for a second,
Sure.
because inside of family, just like inside of politics, there's uh, there's revenge, there's mean spirit, there's
Resentment.
punishment, right? Resentment. How much did that play into your development of the political arena with the Whitfields and the Roths versus real life?
So I'm fortunate that I don't have any Edward Roths in my life and my family. But I mean, I just it family is tough, you know. Um, some can't choose family. You just got to make peace with it. So luckily, none of it none of it is from personal experience. But that almost gave me more license to really, go no limits. I've thought about writing works of fiction that do borrow from true life with family, so stay tuned for that. But this, it's almost, I mean, everything is from life experience, but this was almost more fun in that it wasn't, because I could just, my imagine, the sky's the limit. My imagination was, was what got me through.
Well, it is very creative, and
Thank you.
you know, there, as I said before, and families are very complicated, and they get complicated even more when any of the two things that I'm going to mention are involved: money and love.
Absolutely. This is the love book, by the way. This is
Yeah.
the book
So
that focuses on love a lot.
so and your book includes, from my count, two love triangles, right? Um,
Yes,
so
this
which,
book has two.
yeah. So
More
and
coming,
the
but
play
yeah,
I
this
just
book
came,
has two.
the play I just finished um, with was called Bermuda Avenue Triangle. It was one triangle. This is two triangles. You've and what is your thoughts about you know uh, eh, love inside of a family when you've got these kind of situations?
it, well, it's an added layer of complication because it forces you to choose between blood family, like your relatives, and someone you want to make your family through marriage and to have children with and to spend, the family you choose in your life partner and spend the rest of your life with. And it's really complex. I think love is complicated. Love triangles happen in life. That's why they're so, fun to write about because I'm sure people can relate to them even if they don't want to admit it. And if they maybe can't relate to them as much, they can live vicariously through these characters. And the thing with literary characters is you don't have to hold back. It's not you, you know. It's you're living vicariously through other people. So and also characters run away with their own decisions. That's true. What authors say. These characters make their own decisions a lot. So it really it adds a complicated layer.
Yeah, no, it certainly does, and you're right. The characters run away with their own decisions, and
Oh yeah, these ones especially.
you, um, um, I'm getting more to
Sure,
the
sorry.
the impossible situation that it creates, right? You've,
Oh yeah.
um, on one hand, you've got the illicit affair going on with the married woman. On the other hand, you've got who's a relative. As you mentioned it earlier, he was having an affair with his sister-in-law, I guess.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you've got someone who is going to pledge their heart to a person they're not in love with, right?
Hmm.
And one brother knows the other brother is kind of a weak spirit, so he's kind of taking advantage of him, in my
Oh
perspective.
yeah, absolutely, not just kind of.
and and when those start to unravel, whether in fiction or in real life, what do you think about the stress and the angst it puts on the family, and how does one put that behind them when they do find out?
You wouldn't wish that on anybody, you know? And in a lot of ways you don't put it, well, you do put it behind you, but you don't, that's the only way you can make peace with it, I think, because it's something that's tough to forgive. It's tough to really fully get over. And as I was exploring, this is kind of a preview for book 3, by the way, but as I was like exploring love triangles, that's kind of like how this society is. There's like people, kind of play, house and that they have their, spouse and children. But, monogamy isn't necessarily it's kind of an open secret that people like, will have politically expedient like affairs or politically expedient marriages type of thing. So it's but this examines it from even in that society. It's tough because you feel how you feel for one person, but you also have obligations to another. And it's just I also like to look at it from the perspective of feeling for the person who is in that love triangle. Like the person who is like, gosh, I like people and I can't make a decision because you would hope you're only going to spend the rest of your life with one person. Um, but just the heart gets confused or can't make up its mind or is a lot of what ifs, and that's kind of it explores that. Like I got some feedback and they really did not like the love triangle that was going on with Adam and Cassandra, because it's like, oh my gosh, how could they do this? And it's like, okay, I see that perspective, but at the same time, I don't blame them. You
Yeah,
know,
I, I,
you
I don't think, I don't think there's people in real life that don't go through that kind of situation. And,
exactly. So let's all
um,
be honest here, kind of thing.
but does the family and the relationships and, you know, are they capable of surviving? If they were to survive, what does it take? I mean, is
They
it,
it's a reason to survive, though. It's a motivation to survive. You have to for financial reasons or public image reasons, or if there are children or other dependents involved, assets. You don't really have a choice.
so then, but you also get a situation where, um, there's another level of complexity to it, and that is one person is having an affair with another person who's married. They
Hmm.
do have some level of power and control over that person that they can
Oh,
use for their
absolutely.
own self-interest. Talk to that for
Oh,
a
yeah.
second, because that fits into
That's
what
it.
you've written to.
Well, it shows the evil of that person. That even though it's mutual attraction, it speaks to that confusion of, gee, I don't know who I'm in love with, and who I want to spend my life with, and did I make the right decision in marrying this person or committing to be with this person or pledging myself to that person? But also, it's like um kind of blackmail or dirt that you have on a person, you know so it's people taking advantage of other people, which I think,
Yes,
which is it's really a cruel and almost sadistic power move.
no, you're right. Sadistic is a good way to put it. But
Thank you.
so let's get to the second trivia question, and we'll stay with, um, bloodlines because that's the
I
theme
love
of your
this
book.
question.
So, who was the first U.S. president not to have a bloodline back to the United Kingdom? So, again, first one to type in the correct answer. This one you have to be the correct answer. Who was the
Yeah, there's
first
only
president
one.
of there's only one. Who was the first president not to have a bloodline to the UK? Um, again, a little bit different of a question than we've had before in trivia, but let's see who's sharp out there or can get to their phone quickest. So let's talk about a couple of other things that I found
Sure.
intriguing in the book, and that was some of the subtle messages you may or may not be sending with the titles of your chapters. So let's talk
I
about.
am, so
I know.
you got
So
that right.
so let's start with the start of something as a
Okay.
chapter.
So,
Why'd you choose that one?
like we said, like I mentioned, this book has got a lot of, this is the love part of the love, politics, and survival. And there's certainly some romance involved. So this is a side character, Howard, Howard Forrester, who is works for Edward Roth and is dating Edward Roth's niece, Victoria. So he's dating his boss's niece. So he's in quite a position there. Um, and it's the start of something is about the start of their relationship. There's a lot of flashbacks in this book, a lot of kind of to get that insight and go, okay, this is how we got up to what we were in the first book, to what we were in this part of the second book, where we might be going in future parts of the book. So this the start of something is about their relationship and how it first began, but also because this is the love part of the series, Love, Politics, and Survival. This is the book that focuses on love. There's a lot of kind of sexual beginnings. So Howard, kind of his backstory is that he has a very troubled past. He kind of has had sexual and alcohol and drug addictions. Um, a lot of that stemming from an unpleasant past. But he also is starting, Victoria is, that's her name, is starting to be really sexual and coming into a sexual awakening for the first time. But Howard, in all of his years of having all these sexual escapades, is finally has the start of something nice, of something romantic and a real relationship, and being with someone where there's like true love and connection, which is tough for him.
Yeah. See, it's. I think you hit the nail on the head when you described it.
Thank
There's
you.
a lot going on in,
There is.
in each one. We talked about a different kind of Christmas. I think we hit on that theme. I was gonna bring that one up, but
Yeah.
let's talk about closing. Memorable
Oh, it's
ending.
memorable evening. Yeah, that was, oh, it was
Evening.
such a
Sorry.
fun
Yeah.
chapter to write. That was almost, okay, so that could have been the length of 3 chapters. That was almost one long chapter because
Yeah.
but it's now 2 long chapters. That was just such a, it was a memorable evening because the different situation that Cassandra is forced to be in is that she and Adam were supposed to get engaged, but she and Edward Roth's nephew, Scott Ambrose Roth, are engaged because for political expediency. Edward Roth decides that it's going to help him, so he's making it happen. Bullies and blackmails people and threatens people into getting what he wants. So it's a memorable evening because they have their engagement party, which is where the love triangle between Adam and Cassandra and Scott is really front and center.
Right.
And a lot goes on at that engagement party, other than just Scott and Cassandra being formally engaged for the public to see. It's memorable not only in that they get engaged, but Adam and Cassandra try to talk about what that means for their um, romantic interests and the affair that they're having, as well as Scott shares his true feelings for Cassandra, because Scott really does love Cassandra. It's not his fault he's in this situation, but he's really hard on himself because he know that Cassandra doesn't love him, but nobody has a choice in the matter except Edward Roth. So it's memorable because she shares his true feelings, but it's also memorable because there's something going on between Scott and Cassandra too. And it's like, oh, where is this going? You know? Um, what were their motivations for being with each other? Is it because, Cassandra felt expectation, or also there was certainly a lot of alcohol involved, or, hey, it happens, liquid courage, social lubricant, right? Um, but like what so it's memorable for him too because he is, you know it, there's a lot going on for him about how he feels about Cassandra.
Yeah, there is, and it's um, clever the way there is so
Thank you.
much deception and deceit without
Oh my
remorse.
gosh. Oh yeah, well, again, it's a few things. It's like how evil Edward Roth is the villain. It's kind of, behavioral behavioral disorders, we could say. Howard certainly got some behavioral disorders going on worth examining. It's I want to do what I want. Cassandra, I think, has a great way of looking at it. It's imperfect, but it's admirable.
So, one of the other things that I find just fascinating is the amount of deception and deceit without remorse. So, talk to that for a little bit.
Sure. So it highlights a few things. It highlights how this one character, Edward Broad, is just truly evil. there's not many, if any, good things about him. So he wouldn't be expected to feel remorse. But also, I think with like Howard's got some stuff going on. There's certainly some behavioral, issues and disorders to unpack there, and how that affects someone, especially being forced to grow up really early in life. But also, Cassandra kind of, if I may use such a word, has an admirable way of looking at it. It's not that she doesn't feel remorse. It's that her way of looking at it is that she has faulty but well-intentioned logic, that if she pretends it's not happening, or if that um, if Scott doesn't, if other people don't know, especially Scott, don't know what she's doing and can't be hurt by it, then it's not wrong. It's faulty, but well-intentioned.
Well intentioned. So, what's next? Book 3, I would imagine.
That's the hope. I'm working on book 3. I kind of hinted at that there might be a companion series.
And the companions.
Honestly, yeah, because the book's about the Whitfield families, as the title suggests, and then everything. I've kind of tried to make it in that light, that everything then connects to the Whitfields. You
Right.
know, in writing about the Roth interactions with them and Scott interactions with them. There's so much material for Howard, and it's like, okay, does this connect enough to the Whitfields family? It's like, well, if it connects to Scott, it connects to the Whitfields family, but he might have his own companion series
Right.
because there's
Right.
just so much material.
Right.
And the second book was probably my favorite to write, and then read. But my favorite chapter, favorite chapters and scenes come in the third book.
Okay. I'm looking forward to reading that one too.
That's the survival. That's the survival
I
part
don't
of
know how
the.
you get better than multiple love triangles, but
Oh gosh, thank you. There's an added one. There's an added one
oh,
in the
good.
third one. You're right.
It's a
Yeah.
menage a trois squared,
I guess so. Yeah. Because
or
that one's
cubed, I
even
guess.
deeper family. That
I
one
got it.
we talk about how what you mentioned in the first book. It has to do with Danny.
Yeah.
Danny Whitfield, George Whitfield's son.
Well, congratulations on the new this work and the next one, and we'll have you
Thank
back as
you.
soon as it's out. And you've been
Oh,
a
I can't
wonderful
wait.
guest, and the best to
Thank
you and your
you.
family. And go Yankees!
Thank you. I was love speaking to you. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, good show. It's always exciting to have guests return. I am excited to see what is up in the third novel. It sounds dramatic. If you guys have been watching Succession on HBO, that's kind of what this series maybe reminds me of a little bit. That's the spark that lights in my mind. So, really exciting. Can't wait for the next one to come out. Excited to have Rebecca back in, I don't know, maybe a year. We'll see how fast she can write this third book. Always great to have Ralph back. He will be back again in 2 weeks for the second February episode of Reading, Writing, and Ralph. Once again, thank you to our sponsors, the Kathleen and Eddie Arthur Hearts of Love Fund. You guys can donate to that fund. The link is in the comments right here, right now. So donate. It is a great cause. It is a local fund founded by some of the most generous people that I have ever met. So until next time, guys, be the good news in someone's life.